On a very early Friday morning in late June 2015, I was huddled on my gray sofa with my two dogs, with all eyes glued on cable news. My dogs are not morning dogs, but I had to drag them out of bed because I was nervous and anxious, and I needed something to hug. Suddenly, the news reporter starts reading the decision of the court. Equal dignity in the eyes of the law. And with that, the full promise of liberty was granted to LGBT Americans who just wanted to marry the person that they loved. The crowds outside the Supreme Court erupted spontaneously in singing the Star-Spangled Banner. And with tears streaming down my face and rockets pounding in my heart, I forgot that I was practically suffocating my dogs with my bear hug of love. That was the end of a long road to one form of equality. And we Americans celebrated in our own ways across the country, with our friends, with our families, with our loved ones, and sometimes with pool parties. We were equal under the law. And if straight people could get married and divorced 3 times, doggone it, we wanted to get married and divorced 3 times too. Today, I remember that momentous day in history with so much gratefulness. And I realized that wasn't the finish line of our personal development. In fact, that was just a chapter in our unique human journey. I see successful LGBT leaders across America, from the arts and entertainment to business and technology and government and nonprofit and sports, and everyday heroes that we don't know their names of. And while we have opportunities like never before, somehow I feel like I'm still searching for more. And I don't think I'm alone. Turns out the LGBT community has unique personal development challenges and needs just like any other American. Except our lives don't fit into the same mold as our straight allies. We have this added layer of complexity which can lead to pervasive daily low-grade anxiety, even if we're not conscious of it. For example, we think about on a daily basis, is it okay to hold someone's hand in public? Or is it okay to show affection? And we're constantly reminded of our minority status. For example, reading a silly dating article about the 100 most eligible Americans to find that there's only 2 LGBT members on that list. And we realize that the numbers are forever not in our favor. These minor filters subconsciously influence our belief in ourselves and lead us to oftentimes change our actions and behaviors. But at what cost? I wonder how my subconscious self-censorship impacts the filters that I live, talk, and think through on a daily basis. Am I good enough to fit into mainstream society? Whatever that means. The truth is, I don't fit any stereotypes, and oftentimes feel outside mainstream gay culture, which ironically is a culture outside the mainstream. I don't have big muscles or the perfect body. I have no idea who that celebrity in the front row is. And worst of all, I have really, really bushy eyebrows. It's true. It's a big deal. This one guy on a date told me that he he thought I was amazing, and then texted me afterwards to say that he thought my eyebrows were a deal breaker. Meanwhile, another guy texts me and says that he wants to have babies with my eyebrows. What does that even mean? What I know for sure is that my eyebrows are perfect for me. But maybe, just maybe, I subconsciously choose to live outside mainstream gay culture because I'm afraid of eyebrow rejection. And even with my family, I have a filter that I use to talk with them about things. I know my family loves me deeply and unconditionally, but I have no desire to make them feel uncomfortable or ashamed. Not because of me, but perhaps because of their friends who are from a different generation or a different culture who may not be as culturally cool with the gays. I wonder how my fear of shame subconsciously wounds me and holds me back, personally and professionally. Professionally, I'm blessed. I've gone to Harvard. I've worked and traveled across the world. I personally advise the CEOs of some of the world's largest companies on innovation and technology, and I speak often in front of thousands of people like you. But as I embark on this new chapter to build a new business as an entrepreneur, I have a little secret. As the Meryl Streep character says in the final lines of the eponymous film, I have such doubt. I have such doubt. Where does this doubt come from? Is this a subconscious fear of trying to be good enough to always fit in? When I turned 40 last year, I made a conscious decision to stop trying to prove that I was good enough, personally or professionally. Whether I was good enough to date Prince Charming, or whether I was good enough to run a multi-million-dollar business for an ungrateful manager, or whether my startup ideas were good enough. I know that this deep-seated desire that I'm good enough probably comes from some childhood craving for acceptance. But I'm not playing that game anymore. So I stopped dating. I stopped trying to woo the perfect mate. I quit a very successful job because I knew deep down that I was good enough to build something for myself without reporting to somebody else. And I also started speaking publicly in front of thousands of people. Now, I know for many people, public speaking is a fear like death. But for me, I can be my true self on stage, my true nerdy self, where I can hope to help inspire my audience to learn something new from my knowledge. For me, being on stage is deeply comfortable. Until that time when I fell flat on my face. You see, the universe has a way of making you laugh at yourself when you need it most. A few months ago, I was invited to present in front of 400 senior executives of one of the world's largest companies. And as I'm being introduced to go on stage, I go up 3 steps and I miss the last step. And I didn't stumble. I basically face planted on stage. You know, in baseball, when like a baseball player is trying to slide into home base and steal a score, yeah? That was me, sliding across stage. And all I could hear was 400 people gasping. And in that moment, time froze for me. I got up, I brushed myself off, and I started my talk. I literally hit rock bottom, and I had my nerves knocked out of me. But I had to perform. I didn't have the mental capacity at that moment to doubt or to filter my thoughts. Just like when a ballerina or a musician is on stage and in flow and she's performing, or like when an athlete is in the middle of a race and is using muscle memory to compel himself or herself to peak performance. I just had to perform. And you know what? That was the best presentation of my life. And I got a huge ovation. Unwittingly, the universe turned my vulnerability of doubt into a superpower of belief. So every year at New Year's, I make a set of goals for myself for the year. This past year, on New Year's Eve, I was a little bit lazy and a little bit lonely, and I could only muster one goal. And that goal is to push through the fog. To push through the fog. You see, starting a business is hard work and unpredictable, and there are days of sunshine and days of fog. And gay dating can be foggier than a San Francisco summer. One day, you can be a magic flying unicorn, and the next day, your eyebrows are bushier than a miniature schnauzer. But let me tell you something. Your eyebrows are perfect. Your eyebrows are perfect, just the way they are. And your eyebrows are perfect, just like you. We LGBT Americans live with this fog daily. And while that fog lifted on that June morning to show a great, big, bright rainbow of hope, I know that there are more chapters ahead. So I hope you'll join me. I hope you'll join me so that we can push through the fog together and pursue our hopes and our dreams without any doubt or filter. Thank you.